right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm your host, Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co host, Jake Bogan. And we are continuing with our 2022 NFL Draft Prospect interviews. And joining us on the show right now, we have Tanner Connor, wide receiver, Idaho State. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
We're great, man. Just to start it off, just want to ask you, what age did you start playing football? And when is it that it became apparent that you could be playing in the NFL one day?
So I didn't start playing until about middle school. My dad wasn't big into the Pee Wee, Pop Warner football stuff. And so I started in middle school, which was about seventh grade. And then the NFL became a reality for me around my junior year of my collegiate season.
And growing up, did you watch a lot of the NFL? And if so, did you have a favorite player?
Yeah, I did. I grew up a Seahawks fan. I'm from Seattle. And so my favorite player was Doug Baldwin growing up. He was an electric receiver. I think he's one of the most underrated receivers who's ever played the game. And so I've watched him growing up. And obviously my dad was a good football player as well, played at Oregon and played in the NFL for a short amount of time as well. So
I would tend to agree with you there on the Doug Baldwin front. As much as I hate to say it, being a Rams fan covering the Rams, he was incredible. And I don't think he was appreciated enough. And it was sad that he had to retire a little bit younger than he would have liked to. But kind of going to this next question, I'm just curious, what led you to play at Idaho State?
Yeah, so it's an interesting story. Out of high school, I didn't have any football offers, right? And so for signing day came when I didn't have any football offers. I was like, okay, well, this might be a done deal. That I might not play football. But I had a lot of track offers to University of Washington, Washington State, and some big sky schools. And so every school I went to, I asked if I could play football, and they kept telling me no. Like 5 or 6 times, schools were telling me no. And I get to Idaho State with my last visit, late July, and Hillary Merkley, the head track coach, finally says yes and takes me to the football offices. I give them my huddle link. I say, just look at it. Tell me how you feel about it. And then 2 hours later, they offered me a full-ride scholarship. And so I ended up doing both football on a scholarship and then track as a walk-on. So it's a really cool story. And I think it makes the story even better now that I'm making it the next level.
For sure, that is a great story. And for incoming recruits who might be interested at playing football at Idaho State, how would you pitch them the football program and the school as well?
So our football program was pretty bad all throughout my career. I think we had one season over 500 in record-wise, but they just hired a completely new staff and just got a bunch of new fundraising and hired a new head coach, you got a whole new staff. And so pitching to them now, I would say a recruit wants to go to Idaho State because they have had a complete culture shift and they're rebuilding from the ground up, and they're looking for players to help be a part of that process of making ISU a better place. My career there, it was tough, losing a lot of games, but it obviously sparked that change with coaching staff and the culture. And now I think it's on the path to be a really good program. So facilities and everything has been way better since I even left. I came back and visited, and everything looks way better. And the coaching staff is doing a lot better with those players. So going into it now, it's definitely in a rebuild. And they're going to do really well this season.
It's a really good pitch, man. I hear you. And it definitely, it had to sting, obviously losing those games, but you would never know it on tape, with just, the work ethic that you have and just the numbers that you put up and the production. So you would never know that you were, a little annoyed by that. But, kind of in this next question here, you went up against plenty of competition. I always say anybody in college is going to go up against a tough team or a tough player here and there. Is there one guy that stands out to you to be the toughest player that you went up against?
Yeah, so obviously it's natural for me to choose a DB because that's who I go against on a daily basis in the game. And so Jordan Perryman was a cornerback at UC Davis who just transferred to University of Washington. And he was probably the best player I've gone against because he was the most physical cornerback I've ever played against. I was really used to bullying corners around and being a bigger frame and using my size as my advantage. And he was the first guy to offer a challenge at that because he was super strong, he was big, he was physical, and he was long, and a really good football player. And that's how he got transferred from UC Davis to University of Washington. So I hope nothing for the best of it, but obviously the best player I played against, and he was a lot of fun to compete against.
And is there a favorite game that you played in college?
Yeah, it would be the spring game against Idaho in our COVID season. So our fall got canceled, obviously. So we played a 6-game COVID season, and Idaho, of course, is our rivals, and we ended up beating them. I put 200 yards up on them in the spring, and I had my whole family there. So it was a really cool game.
That's awesome. It's anytime we ask any prospect what their favorite game is, I think there's sometimes it's a little bit of a hesitation, but you always kind of figure out which one it is. I think for the most part, you're going to know.
Yeah.
Now, going into this next question, I just want to know you're a different type of wide receiver. You're not a 5'7", 170 pounder, but that doesn't matter. You play the position. I want to know from your opinion, what is the most important trait to manning that position on the outside?
Yeah, so being a wide receiver is all about one-on-one matchups. An offensive coordinator's job is to figure out what the best one-on-one matchups in offense are, and obviously you do that different ways. But a receiver is always going to be anticipated to beat their man over them, whether it's in zone or man coverage. Like, you have to beat the guy in front of you. And so I would say that separation and being able to catch through contested, obviously physical the cornerbacks would be the most important thing for a receiver to have, because if you can get separation, you'll always be open, right? Like, it makes it easy to pitch and catch. But if you can't get separation, then if you catch really well in contested catches, that's also really good. So I would say just being an efficient receiver in your one-on-one matchup is going to be the most important trait to have. Luckily for me, I was a bigger receiver, so I got to use my talents a different way than a 5'7", 170-pound receiver does.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into my next question. What would you say is your biggest strength as a player?
Yeah, so obviously being 6'3", 230, I'm in between tight end and wide receiver. But my biggest strength is obviously my physicality. Through the catch, with the ball in my hands, I'm very physical. I have a lot of tape of me running people over and going for long gains and touchdowns afterwards. I think of myself as having a lot of yak potential after I get the ball in my hands, and being physical through my route running and just trying to impose my will upon the quarterback. And so being 6'3", 230, and I'm not super quick, but I'm fast, I think that's what my biggest asset is.
I would definitely agree with that. And kind of a follow-up question here, between wide receiver, tight end, I know you just mentioned that. I look at you as a receiver. That's how I evaluated you. But I'm just curious how many teams, if any, have reached out to you about wanting you to be a tight end?
It's about 33% on tight end, 33% power slot, and 33% wide out. So I've had teams say, strictly tight end, we're not going to obviously make you block a whole defensive end by yourself. You'll be comboing that. I've had teams who want to use me as like a zebra's power slot, where you kind of get mismatches against linebackers and safeties in the slot. And then I've had teams who just think I can play wide out, just be on the outside and be a better one-on-one matchup for them. And so that's where I think a lot of my value comes from, is that teams see me in so many different ways that I can be plug and played everywhere, and I can contribute a lot in special teams. And so being a tweener can be kind of sucky because it's hard to make comparisons and find a true role. But at the same time, you can offer value in different places that other guys can't.
For sure. There's a lot of versatility there, which is always an asset and definitely something that teams really love and look for. But, as the draft has been approaching, has there been anything specific that you've been looking to improve on?
Yeah, so when I finished my senior season, the one thing that I knew from scouting reports previously is I need to work on my route running. I was a big, athletic wide receiver. I have a track background. I can run, but I always had problems getting in and out of my routes. And so when I went to Florida to train for 3 months, that's all I focused on. It was getting in my breaks, getting out my breaks quickly, using my speed in different ways and not going full speed all the time. And so I've improved a lot. My UW Pro Day obviously proved that I ran routes really well and crisp there. And so I'm super happy with how far I've come, but I'm excited to learn more at the next level. But I've for sure improved my route running since my senior season.
Now I'm going to ask you a fun one. If there's anybody in particular that stands out, who do you most want to go up against or match up against at wide receiver versus corner in the NFL?
Against a cornerback, man, I would love to go against the best of the best. I think it would be fun to test my talents against some guy like Jalen Ramsey. I mean, he's just the epitome of what a cornerback is. He gets in your face. He talks trash. He really tests a receiver both physically and mentally. And so for me, that'd be a fantastic challenge, because then it really proves if you can play at the next level or not, because he's got the entire package that's going to really show your weaknesses.
Definitely can agree with that. And this next question is in that same kind of vein, but if you could only pick one quarterback to catch a touchdown pass from the NFL, who would be?
I'm a little bit biased from where I'm from, and it would probably have to be Russell Wilson.
It's a good one.
That's what I figured it was going to be, but it's a good one.
Even after the trade, I would still say Russell Wilson. So I'm a big Russell guy.
I like that. I think that like Seattle fans, for the most part, I haven't seen one Seattle fan that isn't willing to carry their. I'm not saying that they're going to be just flat out Denver fans, but I do have to give them props that they're really backing Russell Wilson now. It's, it's kind of cool. I mean, we kind of went through it as well, being Rams fans. Steven Jackson going to Atlanta, Robert Quinn, Chris Long, anybody leaving, pretty much, we've rooted for them. So it makes a lot of sense. But no, it is cool to see, and I think that's a great one. Plus, I mean, the guy has, I think, the best ball placement in the game. So
Yeah,
I'm sure
I would love to catch
be...
one of. I'd love to catch one of his famous moon balls because he threw that thing
Yeah.
to the top of the stadium. So that'd be fun.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's throwing that to Tyler Lockett. You're 6'3",
Yeah.
so that might not be as crazy of a circus catch for you.
Yeah, exactly.
So, moving into this, we are, as I've mentioned, a Rams podcast. We cover the Rams mainly during the season, although we focus really on the NFL draft during the offseason. But I do have to ask you if you have spoken to the LA Rams throughout this process.
Yeah, I have. I've talked to him the other day, actually. Nothing official, no official visit or workout, but I've been in communication with almost every team, and the Rams are ones that called me last week. And, talking about my role, especially on special teams and then as an offensive asset as well. So they see a lot of value in me, obviously, because, being 6'3", 230, who can run, you can do a lot on special teams, but you can also produce a lot on offense. And so they were excited. They think they have a lot of value, but it kind of depends on how the draft shakes up. So,
yeah.
Well, we definitely love to hear that you've been in contact with them for sure as fans of the Rams and as fans of you. So
appreciate
you're right,
that.
though. You're welcome. We'll see how the draft shakes out, like you said, but definitely like to hear that there's been some contact there. And just to close this out here, in your own words, who is Tanner Connor as a person and who is he as a player?
Yeah, Tanner Connor as a person, I've looked deeply into this after I left because my biggest thing in college is that I wanted to leave a legacy of my character rather than the accomplishments I had on the field and on the track. And so, a few months later after my season, I have so many guys who are younger than me who looked up to me so much and like miss me and always check in on me. And so for me, I think of myself as a very reserved and quiet leader, but someone that people like to follow because of how I act and how I carry myself off the field and on the field. And so for me, I was super happy about how I left a good legacy of character. Like a lot of integrity. I have a lot of loyalty to the dudes I'm with. I made sure that there was no hierarchy when I was at my school and that everybody was the same level as me. I was feeding jugs to the freshmen and the freshmen were feeding jugs to me. I wanted to make sure that they were as comfortable with me as a leader as I was with them. So a few months later, I really found that my purpose was, to leave a mark on those guys with character-wise so that they can develop into that as well and be great leaders too. And so even though I'm really quiet, I think my actions always speak louder than my words.
It's a great answer. Great answer, Tanner. Now, finally, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. They're off the gridiron. Just get to know you a little bit outside of football. The first one, I want to know if you could recommend me a TV show, an album, and a snack.
Okay. TV show is going to be okay. Well, I'm a big anime fan. I know that's common among football players, and I love watching anime. So that would be Demon Slayer would be my recommendation. It's on Netflix, but a regular TV show would be Shark Tank. I've been hooked on it on Hulu for the last couple of weeks. I love watching Shark Tank, all the inventions, the creativity. It's really fun to watch. Music is interesting because I don't listen to like albums. I find like radio stations I listen to and I pick out songs. So I actually don't have an album on my Spotify playlist. I have 1,000 songs that I have. And so I can't recommend you an album, but I can recommend you a band that I love listening to. And this might come as a surprise, but I was a huge Linkin Park fan growing up, and that was my thing that I listened to, and it's what I work out to. And I love, heavy metal, not super grungy, but enough to where it can get you pumped up. And then my favorite snack, this is hard because I've been dieting so hard for 4 months. It probably have to be at a store, just a basic milk chocolate Hershey's bar. That's what I grew up on a kid. But my mom would bring that home for me. I was going to be a happy camper. And so that's my sweet tooth. I love chocolate.
That's a good one. The snack was for Alexis, in case you're wondering.
Okay.
Yeah, I am very into snacks, especially when I watch the TV shows. And when we watch the NFL draft, Jake and I we stream the whole draft. We do a show the whole draft. I will be eating snacks probably, especially on day 3 when it's 7 hours long or something. I'm always usually order a pizza or something. I really let myself splurge during that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, great recommendations. Love Linkin Park. I know Jake does as well. Jake and I are also into metal. He's a little more hardcore than I am.
Yeah,
I'm more.
It's actually a metal band, Ice Nine Kills. If you ever heard of them.
Yeah. So you like the screaming, screamo type stuff, or?
So I do. If it has to me, it has to be melodic, right? I can't melody. Just sit there and have Cookie Monster growling the whole time. You know what I mean? But
I'm the same way.
Yeah. I think that is probably. it's probably my favorite genre. If it's like rock with like some metal twist to it, like melodic, and then there's the heavy guitars, and I mean not necessarily double bass pedal, but that doesn't hurt. I think that's pretty much my favorite genre right now. That's what I've been listening to a lot. So yeah,
you
I would say
resonate well
that.
then. That's spot on for me. So that's crazy.
Oh, absolutely. I love it. You're the first. We've had all these prospects on. You're the first person to give metal a shout out. It's amazing.
Yeah. Metal and EDM are my top choices. It's weird, but that's who I am.
So if you like EDM and you like Linkin Park and you like metal, you gotta check out Starset.
Starset?
Yes.
They're
my favorite band. They
for sure.
So Alexis knows them. I've seen them 10 times in concert. They're a cinematic rock band. They take all of the like they have like EDM, and then they take all of the sounds that you would hear in like, a movie trailer. Those really like symphonic sounds. And then they're mixed with like Breaking Benjamin. They're screaming, and then there's also a lot of like melody to it. I think you'd like them.
Perfect. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. They're by far my favorite band though. And then Ice Nine Kills would be number 2. So
gotcha.
And you'll have to let me know if you like them.
I will. I'm gonna go listen to after this. I'm excited.
Awesome.
I like Starset. Not as much as Jake does, but I do like them. Yeah, great band. Great recommendations. Hershey bars, also love those. And then the TV show Shark Tank I like a lot too. Actually. It's on like every night on some channel.
Yeah.
I can't think of, and I'll see it sometimes, and I like put it on, and I listen to it more than I watch it just because I like the banter. But anyways, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really, really appreciate it. We know it's a busy time. We're like 2 days away from the draft, which is crazy. The month for us flew by really quick because we've been doing interviews like every night and just covering it. But I feel for the prospects, it's probably been the longest month ever. Just feeling like all the anticipation of how to get there. So almost there, 2 days. We wish you the best of luck. Would love to see you in the Rams, but we'll be fans of you no matter where you go. And we will be wishing you a lot of success. So stay healthy. And we're excited to see what happens here this weekend.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it so much for having me on. It's been a blast. I love doing these interviews, so you're not getting into my time at all. I appreciate it a lot.
Oh, absolutely, Tanner. Really appreciate your quick response. I understand I got you a little bit later in the process, but just was blown away with your film. Really wanted to get you on here, and I mean, now that I know you like metal, we gotta stay in touch, obviously. And,
for sure.
If you end up wearing those horns over there by any stretch, you got to come back on.
I got you for sure.
You take care, man.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it a lot.
Absolutely. Stay healthy and, enjoy the draft.
I will. I'll do my best.